Greetings, religionists. This is James Powell, and now with some definitions of religion. And you listening to this are going to fit into one of these categories of religion. And we can define religion in a number of ways, but primarily as a primary worldview that dictates one's thoughts and actions. That's going to be a core definition of religion among many others. And those who don't have a primary worldview are either in a coma or they're dead. And so let's look at these from the beginning level, which would be polytheism. Now we're going to differentiate polytheism from henotheism in a moment. But polytheism is the religion we find shared among the tribal religions of human prehistory and before civilization emerges. What is polytheism? It is the personification as a divine presence of natural phenomena like the sun, the wind, the water, and the like. And so what we have in polytheism is a decentralized notion of the sacred found in natural phenomena. As civilization emerges from anywhere 12,000 to 5,000 BCE, depending on who you talk to and how you define it, we see a similar form of religion appearing among the four ancient seats of civilization. Again, Sumer, Egypt, the Indus Valley, and the Yellow River civilizations. And there we see in henotheism, the gods, the divine, look like a city-state in its structure. Now, for many in America and Europe and the so-called Western world, we know these Greek gods. And if we think about it, a deity like Zeus looks remarkably like the mayor of a city. Then he has his specialized departmental ministers. So we can look at Ares as the minister of war, if you will. We even have abstract principles like Aphrodite represents beauty, or Athena, education and the arts, Hephaestus, industry. And so with religion always mirroring human consciousness, we see an evolution from polytheism to henotheism. Now, in the axial age cultures, where we see the great guys, Confucius, the Buddha, the Hindu Upanishads, and Taoism emerge, we see a third mode of religious evolution, which we refer to as monism. Monism is the idea that there is no divine reality outside our planet, but rather everything in our world is, if you will, an ultimate reality. There is no Jehovah outside giving orders to human beings through his prophets. In fact, if we look at Confucianism, we see all of reality is in some sense a pure ethical imperative, so that the world is run by the Tao. Confucianists and Taoists both talk about the way together. For Taoists, of course, the Tao is not primarily social and ethical. It is natural. And in the natural world, the Taoists recognize the interplay of yin and yang, and there is no deity outside that process. In India, we see in Hinduism the view of Brahman as a world spirit, if you will, that in fact breathes life, is a presence of life in all things. And so, in this sense, we are all divine beings. Even the table, the chairs are all part of Vishnu's dream, for example. So monism we see in the central and eastern parts of Asia. And so, this next one, monotheism, is what most in the so-called Western world will see as religion. It's important to know that the prefix mono does not mean one, as in belief in one God. Mono means only, strictly. Henotheism is the belief in one primary God with a pantheon of ministers, as we just said. But monotheism says there is only one divine transcendent principle beyond our world, in no wise human or earthly. And we see this religion in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, of course, most famously. And then in these traditions we see the role of the prophet is critical. The prophet speaks on behalf of God. The Greek term prophetes means literally speaking on behalf of. So we know God's will through the work he does, channeling his, I guess we have to say his since the Bible does, his message through these prophets. Now, all these religions emerge syncretically. Syncretism, the belief in the mixing of religions. We find in all religions there is no pure religion. We know humans emerged from Africa approximately 80 to 100,000 years ago. And this means that all religion was once African, which means that all subsequent religions encountering different environments and climates adapt that original human religion, whatever that was, to their own needs and purposes according to their climate. So we can see, for example, the Inuit focusing on water deities like the dolphin or the walrus and the like. And we see as well the desert gods of the Middle East being particularly ferocious and fearsome. So as religions evolve, then they always mix. And we know this, of course, with Judaism. There is no pure religion there. Stories such as the Flood or the Book of Job or Ecclesiastes all have parallels, precursors, I should say, in Egypt and Sumer. So Judaism is no pure religion either, and Christianity even arguably less so, incorporating as it does a wide variety of Greek and Roman influences in the tradition. We'll talk about those things as this presentations continue. Islam, of course, blends in not only the Christian syncretism, but as well the idea of the jinn or genies of pre-Islamic fame. Now, that brings us to our last more modern, or at least they're conceived of as more modern religious beliefs. Now, some will want to argue that agnosticism or atheism are not religions. But in fact, if we define religion, as George Lindbeck does, as having a primary worldview that dictates thoughts and actions, then everyone is religious. Because if you're not having a primary worldview, then you're either in a coma or you're dead. And so agnosticism, though many do not realize, was coined in the late 19th century by T.H. Huxley as the most scientific view. It's more aggressive than most people think. They think often agnostic means, I just don't know about these things. But T.H. Huxley was clear, like the bumper sticker I've seen around. I don't know and you don't either. In other words, no one can know if there's an afterlife or angels or bodhisattvas or you name it, anything outside of the world we can see empirically. And that brings us to our last bad boy of religion, atheism. The belief that there is no God. Now, this one is not scientific, in fact, because science can neither prove nor disprove there is a God, an afterlife, angels, or bodhisattvas. So agnosticism is the more scientific view. I think that's quite clear. But let's look at the motivations of some famous atheists like Karl Marx, Friedrich Nietzsche. These people are atheists because they feel that religion is positively detrimental for human civilization. It should be abandoned as superstition of primitive bygone eras. So we can see a moral imperative in atheism as well, and it too then is a primary worldview that dictates one's thoughts and actions. So those are our 7 categories of religion, and everyone fits into one of the 7. There is no other major option, and if there is, please suggest it in the comments section, because I will certainly like to be edified by that amazing discovery. Thanks again, and take care.